For such an iconic game, Dark Souls sure made a lot of head-scratching decisions. That's some foreshadowing for later, by the way. Even as someone who has beaten the game several times, there are some aspects of the game where I just have to ask, what the hell were they thinking when they included this? In this video, I'll be trying my best to explain why Dark Souls occasionally does things that just suck. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button and start typing out your condescending get good comment to submit the instant I criticize a feature you liked, and let's get into it. First we have the depths. This area not only contains a basilisk ambush that will catch a first-time blind player, but it has a boss that spews equipment corroding acid. If it boxes you in, you'll end up with broken weapons and armor. It also only contains a single bonfire located near the end of the level, and it requires a key to access. If you die before reaching it, you'll spawn all the way back somewhere in Undead Parish or Firelink Shrine and have to walk all the way back. You might think that's bad, but what's even worse is if you get cursed and your equipment gets destroyed, and you've rested at the Depths bonfire. Now you have to choose between fighting your way back to the surface with half health and barely any damage output, or forcing your way ahead to Blighttown in this condition. By the way, do not try the second option. So, why are the depths designed in such a noob-destroying way, hitting new players with all kinds of things they didn't even know was on the table? I mean, my first time seeing curse build up, I thought it would be like a stronger poison or debuff. How was I to know it would have consequences that last beyond death and that need an item you can only get in a couple places to get my playthrough back on track? This seemed like it was designed just to make new players abandon their playthrough. And honestly, the curse mechanic must have been recognized as absolute trash if future games in the series nerfed it so hard. To put it simply, this is an equipment check. If you're going down to Blighttown, you're going to be in a long, tough level where you won't have access to the merchants that sell the good stuff to help you out. Your equipment will likely break just from heavy use before you beat the depths in Blighttown back to back as a beginner, and you're likely to have ignored merchants that sell moss that cures poison and toxin. I believe the intended way for this to play out is for the noob to get cursed before finding the bonfire, get kicked all the way back to Firelink with half health, and learn to stock up on important items from merchants before pressing on. It's the game hinting at you to get items that cure status ailments before straying too far from the comfort of the above-ground world, and if you're clever, you'll pick up a couple extra purging stones and some moss as well. This is the game telling you that you need to pay attention to what merchants are selling and plan for the worst. Likewise, the Gaping Dragon's acid attack is to make sure you've gone back and bought the repair box. Once you have the needed tools to repair both your equipment and your character, then you're ready to face Blighttown. If you didn't learn this lesson early on, you could be stuck with broken equipment in Anor Londo and have to go all the way back through Sin's Fortress or beat most of the level in order to get it fixed. A harsh lesson, but effective for teaching you to play smart. Next, why is the return route to the Undead Asylum hidden in such an idiotically obscure way? Getting there requires the kind of platforming that'll get you killed by unstable terrain if you try it in Blighttown. I believe this one is to teach you to watch for orange signs. You see, if you use the Seek Guidance miracle, you'll find a message on the ledge you drop down on that says Path Ahead. This message was left by the developers and is sort of necessary to justify a miracle that is otherwise kinda ass. It seems like the intent was for the 12 people worldwide who use Seek Guidance to leave their own messages for others to follow and have a rare opportunity to feel useful. Now that Seek Guidance has been established as useful, this'll inspire players to use it to find other developer messages telling you to do things like check for an illusory wall in the area after Quelaag, try throwing a projectile at Guinevere, get the Covenant of Artorias before going into the Abyss, and for some reason to jump off the edge of New Londo and die instantly. This lets clerics using an otherwise useless miracle to have a unique playthrough and to help guide others through the game as well. Next, why is Ash Lake so insanely hidden? It's behind an illusory wall, behind a chest, behind another illusory wall, in a side path in one of the most hated, most please just rush through me levels of the game. In short, this is just Japanese developers being Japanese developers. Nothing important is down here for a normal playthrough other than a Titanite slab at the end of an obscure quest, and there are other places to get one of those. Japanese game developers love putting in optional content that normal people will only find if they look up guides online. They wanted more people to talk about the game, and putting in an area that can only be found through luck and that feels so surreal is a great way to make that happen. I didn't even know about Ash Lake on my first playthrough, and going back and seeing what all the hype was about was a unique and memorable experience. Next, let's talk about those Titanite slabs. I get that final upgrade materials are supposed to be rare, but holy shit, every single one of them is in a secret area. One requires not only finding Ash Lake, but also completing Siegmeyer's finicky questline. Another is in the Undead Asylum after returning to it. The easiest one to find requires going into the DLC, finding the hidden boss Calamite, and checking behind the waterfall in his arena. This is insane for an item that seems like it's necessary to be ready for the endgame. While it was overkill, this seems like the game trying to make you really think about which weapon you want to fully upgrade. The message is, you might not even find another one of these, so use it wisely. It could also be another way of encouraging people to discuss the game online, because goddamn, you guys couldn't even put a single one of them anywhere along the critical path to complete the game. One thing I think is just plain bad is the egghead status. This triggers if you fight the egg bearers in Lower Blighttown in the Upper Demon Ruins. If you get infected with an egg, you'll end up with a permanent parasite attached to your head that steals half of the souls you collect. The only way to fix it is with an egg vermifuge, an item that can only be gotten from Ainyi, a merchant hidden behind an illusory wall, or from the painted world of Ariamis, a hidden area that requires finding the path back to the Undead Asylum and then using the strange doll near a painting in an optional area of Anor Londo. To a first-time blind player, this could leave them permanently mutated and debuffed until they look up a guide on how to fix it. This never happened to me, but I imagine once a new player gets hit with it, the go-to response is to go scrambling for a guide online. It seems senselessly harsh though, like its main goal is just to make players feel violated and make them hesitant to fuck with enemies that they don't understand. I can't for the life of me understand why they would put this in and then make it so hard to undo. It's not a way of encouraging smart play and preparation like the curse mechanic is, it's just a dick move. I understand that egg bearers are part of the lore, but this is like if they made it so your character could go fully hollow and experience permadeath just for the sake of lore consistency. If anyone in the comments has an idea about why they would do this, please let me know. Next, we all know the last third of Dark Souls is where the game starts to fall off, and it's been explained numerous times that this is because of rushed development. However, why do the Tomb of the Giants and New Londo both rely on awful gimmicks? The total darkness of Tomb of the Giants makes it nearly unplayable until you find the skull, lantern, or a similar light source, and the transient curse mechanic of New Londo requires you to rely on a finite resource to damage the ghosts. If it runs out, you have to choose between interrupting what is already a tedious run back to go and buy more, or getting cursed on purpose just to fight the ghosts. I think this comes down to a non-horror game trying to copy elements of the survival horror genre. You see, survival horror games often starve players of necessary resources in order to increase the feeling of helplessness. Dark Souls games seem to do this in ways that simply aren't fun in a lot of their spooky levels. New Londo can be super punishing, Tomb of the Giants makes you feel downright lost, and then you have things like Irithyll Dungeon in Dark Souls 3 with enemies that can drain your max health just by looking at you, and the Tower of Latria in Demon Souls with enemies that can paralyze you for a one-shot grapple attack. These mechanics are a detriment to the fun of the games, but serve their intended purpose to make the horror-themed levels feel more tense. I also think Dark Souls was going for a Metroidvania kind of thing with their final 4 areas. The ghost level is gated off by the need for ghost hands, and its boss is gated off by the need for a special abyss ring. The spooky skeleton level requires a skull lantern. The magic dragon level requires finding the hidden path to the magical crystal to break, and the lava level requires the special lava ring. Very standard adventure game fare when you boil it down to its essentials. The gimmicks aren't even bad in the Duke's Archives and Izalith, but FromSoft has associated horror with kicking the player in the balls in every game other than Bloodborne. Finally, why can't you quickscope, teabag, and say the N-word in this game? This is because it isn't Call of Duty and therefore sucks. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.